Hi guys, it's Kai at Mica Creations. I thought I would go ahead and do a video on how I do my glitter and mica samples. Ooh, excuse the gnats. So over the years when I first started, I was like, our glitter and our mica look different under epoxy. And I can't just show someone a bottle of glitter and be like, oh, is this the color you want? Because it's gonna change. And they don't know that, we know that. So I was like, I need to show them my colors once they're mixed, so they know the change. So I was like, how do I do that? So I originally had silicone ice cube trays from Target, and I just put them on the board, and it was super cute. But one, I ran out of room, and two, I had magnets on them so my kids would steal them because they thought they were so cool. I glued them on, my kids would rip them off, and I outgrew the board. And doing it front and back, I didn't like. So I changed my way, especially for cut parties. It's a lot easier to take this. I made my own mold and I put them in squares for glitter, and I did around for mica, and I'll show you how. Now you'll notice they do have holes in them. That's because I used to have them on a chain, but over time, when I have 450 glitters on 7 chains, it gets really heavy, they get really knotty, and coin cases did not work for me. The lids kept popping off and my kids would hide them, and I just feel like they weren't as easy to display. So I really like the binder idea. These are just my glitters. You'll notice they're all in squares by kind of like color arrange, and they're numbered. And then here are my micas in a separate binder because I just ran out of room. Again, all numbered. How I do that and why they're numbered is because then I go in Excel and I type up, ignore my highlighter, I type up the name. Well, I start 1 through whatever. I write the name of the color mica or the glitter, the company, and then the mica, I don't really do the alias names, like if I got it from another company, what would it be called? Because I haven't had any duplicates yet. But for glitters, I do have an alias, or also known as, and I put the name and then the other company that it's known by. Because when I first made my glitter samples, I had about 20 to 25 duplicates. So it was nice to go ahead and cut through. And then I just removed them from the list and combined. So what I like to do is I made my own molds, and I can make these for sale. Please ignore mine are dirty. And I can make them in different quantities, anywhere from 2x2 all the way up to 4x4 for the round or the square. So I will have purchase information in the description of the video. So I have a few things. I'm going to show you my whole process, and this might seem like, oh my gosh, it's a lot right now, but it's the only way that I could do it that's kind of like keeping it consistent, that I don't mess it up. So I have mine laid out. I keep a sheet where I do my grid. So I have my 4x4 and my 3x3 for my micas and my glitters. And I just write down the number of the glitter that's going to go in that spot and the number of the mica that's going to go in that spot. And I just leave it like that. Then what I do is I pull out all my glitters and I lay them in the orientation that they need to be in for the actual samples. So the same way they're going in the tray is the same way they're going to be on my table. And same with my micas right here. I'm still organizing, so please ignore my mess. So here's where you say, oh my gosh, this is a lot of waste. I use medicine cups and I lay them out for my glitter and my mica. Now here's the thing. If you're making a lot of samples, you're not throwing these cups away, because they're plastic. So as your epoxy hardens and sets, you can peel it out and reuse them. So the set that I use for my samples, I just keep reusing them. And then I do keep a couple extra molds out, because sometimes, like, I haven't ever measured how much epoxy, and I'll show you how to do that, goes into each mold. You can, and you can calculate it. Keep in mind, once you put glitter in it, that volume increases. So it's hit and miss. So I do keep 2 extra medicine cups to measure my A and B. I got my gloves, I got wipies, and then I have a dump cup. Now my dump cup is any extra glitter epoxy mixture that is left over from making the sample, it didn't all fit, I pour in that dump cup, and that's what the extra molds are for. So let me go ahead and put you back in my holder. Sorry for the bump. And then I like a little metal stir stick and a big one. And let me go ahead and now I have my epoxy that I use for my tumblers. It's nice and expensive. Does that mean I'm going to use it for my samples? No. Either get cheaper epoxy, you can get a Limalite. This is when your epoxy does not have to be FDA compliant, because this is not going on cups. If you want to be consistent and do that, fine, use the same epoxy. But I'm not. I'm using a cheaper epoxy. I got one on Amazon, which comes in the half-gallon jugs, and it's cheaper, but I can technically still use it on cups. I'm just not, because it doesn't have the I mean, it has UV protection. It doesn't have the scratch resistance in it. It doesn't have all these extra components, and it can't withstand as much heat as my actual really good cast resin. So what I'm gonna do is let me get my epoxy. And I am not preheating it either, because I have a lot of cups to pour in, so I don't want to speed up that reaction process. So I usually break it up into two, and then I just take one of them. I never do A or B first. I just do whatever one I grab. And I honestly just fill it flat to the top twice. Fill it right up to the rim. Put my cap on, and this is just Incredible Solutions tabletop epoxy from Amazon. I use my big plastic spatula, just pop it in. Scrape that off. Go ahead and fill it up one more time. Pop it in here. And then usually when I am big batching all my samples, like I know I'm going to have more than one batch of glitter, one batch of mica, I will just save this cup, which I will do. Let's see what's that. This is the hardener. So that's an H. So I just write it on a piece of foil and I pop that cup on top of it. That way I can reuse it, because it's not mixed, so it's not going to cure. We'll stay sticky and tacky and everything. Okay, so this should be the resin itself. Then again, just measure to the top. Now, when you have the ones that are like this, where they're thick, pour it and let it settle. Pour, let it settle, because it's super thick. So it's gonna take a second to settle, and you don't wanna accidentally like over pour it. Use that cap to help separate it. And it's gonna take a little longer. One, I'm in a cooler garage, but two, it's not heated up. The least, like the thick one, is always so much easier to make sure you get it all the way out of the cup, because it's so thick it sticks to itself. I just do that one. And I feel like that's a little much of a heaping, so I'm just going to scrape some of that off. Where did I put my wipes? Right here. So let me wipe that one off, and now I just need a little bit more because it's a little too less. And that's perfect. Okay. Okay. So now, if you want to know exactly how much epoxy one is going to take, I'll show you how. Get a syringe. You can get these on Amazon. And get a cup of water. And just pour in one. Now that's a little heaping, but that's okay. Make sure you clear the vacuum out of your syringe first. And then you just start sucking up the water. And if you get bubbles in your syringe, that's okay. Tap pretty good. And then push the air out. And then continue to suck up the water. Yes, ma'am. Okay, have Miranda get you another one. Okay, so it's a little over 6. Miranda, you've had 2. No. Okay, so it's right above 6. So then you can do the math. That almost went in water. Or epoxy. And then you can calculate based off how many sheets you have, how much epoxy you're going to need. Again, I don't do that only because I know from doing so many molds that this will fill both. Give me 1 sec to open this for my son. Miranda, out of the freezer, shut it. Here you go, Maverick. Miranda, sit and watch cartoons, please. Okay, so now we're going to mix. And I don't mix slow, and I'm not careful about bubbles. Because they're gonna sit here and rise and everything, and I'm not that patient. Now you can do a couple different things. You can go through and pour your glitter and mica in each one first. I used to do that. However, I have a reason I do it this way first now, where I do the epoxy first versus the glitter first. My thing was when I go to pour this in all the cups, I kind of do it around the same amount. Sometimes you accidentally over pour, you pour too much, so you pour it back. Now, if you already have the glitter in the cup, you're going to get some of the glitter to go in that other cup. So that's why I do the epoxy first. Okay, so this one is thoroughly mixed. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other one, and that's just going to set while I do it. Now, if you're like, oh my gosh, that has more squares than that does circles, it's okay. We're just going to pour them into all the cups. So I just have random molds. I usually do like some phone grips, but also like car coasters or general keychain ones, like the cow tag or like the old hotel room key style. Just because those are cute, where I can just customize, throw a cute decal on or something really fast and sell it or give it away as a freebie for an order. You know. Perfect. Now I just wipe this off because I'm done with it, and we'll set it aside. So now I just take my epoxy and I just pour a little bit in each cup. And then what I do is when I'm done filling them all up, I go back and I try to even them off. Now you'll notice when you have chunky glitters versus fine, you might need more epoxy in the cup with the chunky because it will take up more epoxy to get that sample a little smoother. Just like it takes more volume. Like chunky glitter uses more volume than a fine glitter. So that's why it's always nice to get glitter companies that sell their glitter by weight and not by volume, because if you're getting a mix of a chunky mix or just a mix in general, you're going to get shorted 2 ounces. Because 2 ounces of chunky will not fit in the same size jar that 2 ounce glitter will if it's a 2 ounce jar. Yes, Maverick? Ask Miranda, please. Okay, one sec. Sorry, guys. My husband is on his Mama. 1 second, please. So I will scrape that cup out in a sec. Here you go. What? In a minute, Mama. Please go sit down and rest. It's rest time. So again, I just fill all cups. And if you really wanted to, that cup from your first cup of epoxy, you can honestly get down, Miranda, now. Go sit in your chair. You can use that cup as your dump cup, so you're not using more cups. But I tend to just use a smaller cup. But either way, all of your cups, you can pop the epoxy out if they're plastic. If you scrape them out, it is honestly a little harder to get the epoxy out. But you still can. Okay, so now I just go around. I have a cup that looks like it's a little on the lower side compared to the others. Especially at the beginning when you first start doing, you're like, ooh, I need more epoxy. And then you start making them and you're like, oh, I definitely do not. I'm going to go ahead and just scrape this little epoxy out. I'll just use this cup for my dump cup instead of the smaller ones. That's totally fine. And I only had a little extra epoxy, enough for one more sample, so it's not really that much of a waste. but it's not really going to be wasted because it is going back into a mold. So now this is where, let me move that over. This is where I go one by one and I just put a little bit of glitter in. It's your choice. I do take a glitter, put it back in case I get distracted with my kids. Then I know I have not mixed them up. Now, if you do have a mold and it's dirty, some people wash them with Dawn dish soap and water. I find that that makes glitter stick more. Some people wipe them out with wipes. That doesn't work for me. I literally just take packaging tape, and I'll show you before we pour it into a mold how I clean mine. And it's nice because you can get the packaging tape from Dollar Tree or buy in bulk from somewhere like Yuling. See, even there, I was like, wait, what one did I just do? That's why it helps to keep everything consistent. Clearly trash day. You guys are like, where did you get those jars? These ones are 4-ounce jars from Amazon or Yuling. I usually honestly go with Yuling if I can. They get here super fast and I love their wholesale. And then my Mica jars honestly match, they're just smaller. But I do 4 ounces again because if it is a chunky glitter, the 2 ounces of chunky will fit in a 4-ounce container. Some of my other glitters you'll notice are in urine specimen containers. Again, 4-ounce sizes. Those are from Allegra Medical, which is also where I get my medicine cups wholesale. A lot of times they have sales or free shipping, but they're pretty cheap. Okay, so that's all the glitter. So this is where I use a wipey, and my metal spatula is for the Micas. And usually I use about 2 wipies for all of this because I'm wiping it off so we're not mixing colors. So, and you'll notice even my Micas are numbered. Please get down, Matt. Thanks, buddy. No, sit in your chair. My kids always are like, what are you getting into, Mom? I want to watch. I want to play. Not right now, Mama. and you'll see a bunch of different sizes. These are from Woodies Goodies. They're really cool because they have huge jars. They have all different sizes of jars. And they have a lot of different packages that you can get for their Micas, so that's really cool. There's 3 places I get my Micas usually. Magic Moon Micas, Radioactive Glitter, and then Woodies Goodies. All great companies, super great customer service, and all of them are super fast with shipping too, which is what I love. But they all have different colors. So packaging tape, just click a piece off and just rub it around. Because of course, as I do this, I've got some glitter in here. And when it's with my samples, I just make sure the majority of it is clean. I really don't go in depth of like, oh shoot, I have a little bit left in the corner. Okay, so now it's time to start mixing. And I just start with one. Mix it, and that way you know if you need to add a little more glitter, a little more mica. And I just pour it in. And I'll be honest, I stack my cups and then I just pull them apart. Now if I feel like I need to help it out right here, probably in the backyard, then I will move it around with my stick, and if I need to, I'll wipe the excess off right here, and then just wipe it off with my wipey. But I'm not going to mix it all in, then go back and scrape it, because that way I'm just not using as much as my wipies. Gosh. It's crazy how glitter changes and like how it all changes once it's in epoxy. Again, just stack. You'll see, I'm really not wasting anything. Like, there's just a couple drops and I could really scrape them off. These molds are not super full, so I could put it in there. But I had a little leftover epoxy, so I'm just gonna add it into that big batch cup. I just scrape my spatula off on the side so that I have a nice mixture for my molds. And I'll post in the description the prices for the molds if anyone wants a mold, as well as the pages that I got off Amazon to hold them, and glue dots and stuff, so that if you guys want to go ahead and get that stuff, you can. You don't have to. This is just what works for me and the system I have. It does also work really well for tumbler parties, as well as I take photographs of all my samples. Once they're in the binder pages, I just take a nice photograph and I upload it right to my website. So then when someone wants to order a custom tumbler, they can even see all the glitter colors and options right on the website. I don't even have to talk to them. They tell me, oh, I want this color, this color, this color. And it's perfect. And I do keep the photos on my phone, so if someone's in Messenger, hey, do you have a pink? Yeah, let me send you my pink photos. You can let me know. Now again, with the chunkies or any mix, larger cut glitter, you are going to use less epoxy because that glitter takes up more space. So you'll notice you'll have more left over of that one. Yeah, ma'am. Miranda's in water. She's out back or in her room. She's not gone, I promise. Go look in her room. No. In a minute. Mommy's working real fast, okay, bud? Oh, this is a really pretty one. Not that they're not all pretty, but this was a sample I was given in one of my orders. It's really pretty. That's perfect for Easter. Every once in a while, just check that you're grabbing the right cup for the right square. Whether you go across or down, just try to be consistent. Consistency means less likely to make mistakes. Stack them up. And again, once these dry, I can pop them out, pop out the shell of any epoxy in there, and I can reuse them for my next round of samples. No. Sometimes you might have to scrape it out of the mold if you pour a little too much. That way it doesn't overflow. Now if you do overflow and you're like, crap, what am I going to do? I overflowed. It fell out of... You can just heat it up a little bit on the edge. Use your razor blade and cut it. Or a really great time is if you have one of those hot knives. It slices right clean edge. I have done that many a times where I was just in a rush or too tired. Half asleep. Because I was trying to rush and do my new form of samples one day. And I had, right now I'm up to around 450 litters. So I was trying to get them done before I reopened after moving across the country. So I was having to do 3 batches a day of samples. So it's like first thing in the morning, I'm popping out samples from the last batch at night around lunchtime. I was doing my next round, and then dinner time, I was popping them out and pouring in new ones. And it took me a couple weeks, but I finally got them all done. Because of course you have a day where you don't do any, or of course you have a day where you do like 1 round instead of 3. So now it's great because as you get working, you'll see the first ones, the bubbles are rising. I wait till the very end before I spray everything with alcohol. Molds, we do not torch because the torch can melt your mold, but also it can damage it, it can break it down faster. It is just not a good idea. People have the tumbler ovens. You also do not want to put them in there. One, your epoxy is going to heat up hotter than it normally does, so your epoxy can fuse to the mold. you can also break down the mold faster than you would just from normal wear and tear, or you can even melt your mold. Many options, much money wasted, and sometimes even damaged products. So just pop it close to a heater if you really want that. Do not put it in an epoxy oven whatsoever. Or if it's a nice summer day, put it outside in the sun. I have done that. Okay, so we are done with our glitter. Time for our micas. Again, grab the same way you are for your glitter. Thoroughly mix it. If it is semi-transparent, if you need to add more, add more. Totally okay. Now just remember, this is a different shape. It's the same size, but I did not measure how much epoxy I would need for that one. So this is the fastest way and easiest and least confusing way I found to do this. If you can find another way, that's great. I am not using UV resin, even though it is a translucent mold, because I find that, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't like the amount of additive you put in the epoxy or resin, or it's not like with the mica. Once you mix it, it's not translucent enough, and only the outside cures, and the inside is a loose pocket of resin with mica, and it never cures. So that is why I choose to do epoxy and not UV resin. Last row. Every once in a while I'm like, wait, did I grab from the top or grab from the bottom? So the amount left over from the mica, it's perfect if you make little stud earrings. You could get little stud molds and pour the extras in those. This one's a little chunky. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. No, leave the light off, please. Okay, so all the molds are done. I go ahead and I put those away. Usually wipe any dripped up epoxy. And then I just have my little dump cup. Like, that's not bad for a bunch of samples, 25 samples, probably less than that. So then I choose what do I want to pour them in. I got car coasters, and then so I'll probably do, yeah. So this is like a dirty pour of epoxy. Get my spatula because it's been setting, so it is a little thicker now. But this is how I dirty pour epoxy. It's the same concept as with acrylic paint. I just do it with my epoxy samples. And honestly, sometimes these are the most beautiful. Again, I'll just save that cup and I'll pop it out. I do wipe this off because it is harder to get dried epoxy off plastic. Don't touch. So I didn't even end up filling up most of my molds, which is really good. So I only had those 3. Then I get my spray bottle with alcohol and I just quick all my molds. And that's it. Let me take my gloves off. And I'll show you guys all my samples. And I just keep my list right there. You know, the only thing I do after that is I go ahead and once they're set and dry, I will go ahead and pop them out. And I will go ahead and use my label maker and type in the numbers. So I just number lock on. So I'll do 51 space 52. And you don't even have to space them usually. 119 208. And sometimes I'll pre-print them and then all I have to do is I take baby scissors and I just cut them apart and I stick them on the outside once they're done. And that's it. And then I just pop them in the binder. I don't pop them in numerical order. I group reds, pinks, whites, greens, and then I have their own section for glitter mixes and glitter shapes. Those are all, so if it's multiple colors, that goes with the glitter mixes, glitter shapes, and then micas are organized again by color groups. So that's it. If I do notice in a little bit that I still have a couple bubbles on the top, like maybe with the micas, I hit it one more time with alcohol. If they're still there in about 15 minutes, then I'll come torch them. Don't torch them right away. The alcohol is flammable. So that's it. Cups of my stacked little cups that I scraped everything out of, that will dry. Then I'll pop out the epoxy. Dry, pop out the epoxy, and I can reuse it all, you guys. The thing you're not reusing is your wipies and your gloves. Pretty great, right? Let me know if you guys have any questions. And then these just get popped in a bucket with epoxy sample stuff, leftover epoxy. So I have a bin, and sometimes I just take a day and I go and put keychain hardware on the ones that are keychain molds. The little phone grip molds, I go and I just put phone grips on them. These ones, I'll just take pictures unless I want to decal them. And then I'll just photograph, or they'll be freebies. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I hope I answered everything. Again, I will post the links for everything in the description and prices for my molds in the description. And reach out or comment if you guys have any other questions that I didn't cover. If not, have a great day. Thanks for watching. It's Kai from Moo Crew Creations. Sorry about my kids.